Defeat.
If you've ever played any competitive games, I'm willing to bet that you're familiar with at least one of these screens, maybe all of them. And if you're anything like me, after seeing the same screen 5, 10, maybe 20 times in a row, it gets frustrating. Like, I swear the game is unbalanced, the matchmaking is rigged, and my teammates just keep throwing. It's frustrating to lose over and over again. Maybe I should just quit. But then time and time again, why did I keep coming back? Whether it's hundreds of deaths in a row to Malenia, teammates running it down in your ranked games, or having 5 instalock DPS, loss streaks are some of the most frustrating parts of gaming. And yet, these are games that I found myself queuing up for again and again. I mean, I've quit League more times than I could count on 2 hands. So what's going on here? Why do loss streaks, which should logically make us stop playing, actually make us more likely to keep playing? Well, to answer that, we need to talk about one of psychology's most famous concepts. And if you've ever taken any intro psych class, you might already know where this is going. And if you haven't, well, I have a thought experiment for you. Now imagine that you're locked in a room, and your task is pressing a button repeatedly, receiving $1 for every 100 times you press that button, or having a random predetermined chance of receiving $1 every single time you press that button. Which would you choose? Well, it's kind of a trick question. I mean, technically, the right answer depends on the probability of winning with each press, but without that information, the preference should be closer to 50-50, right? But no, odds are you chose the random one, and you wouldn't be alone in that. A study in the 1980s performed a similar experiment and assigned college students to a computerized gambling task with fixed and variable ratio schedules. They found that participants showed a strong preference for the variable ratio schedule, even when choosing it was mathematically disadvantageous. This concept of variable ratio reinforcement goes all the way back to B.F. Skinner and his famous Skinner box experiment. Rather than simply preference, however, Skinner tested the efficiency of learned behavior by testing animals under different conditions. Similar to that previous thought experiment, when a rat pressed a button, sometimes it got food. If this food came every time, the rat learned quickly that food would come after pressing the button, but it also got bored quickly. However, when the food came randomly, maybe on the 3rd press, maybe the 10th, maybe even twice in a row, the rats became far more persistent, pressing hundreds of times, chasing that next unpredictable payout. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it turned out to be one of the strongest patterns in motivation ever discovered. Because when rewards are unpredictable, our brains stay engaged, because the next reward always feels just one step away. This was originally shown in pigeons and rats in Skinner's experiment, but later studies on humans found the same thing, that unpredictable rewards keep us engaged longer, push us through frustration, and make us way more likely to keep trying. I mean, it's the same psychological principle behind slot machines, loot boxes, and honestly, most of competitive gaming. Every match has the potential to be a win. It's not guaranteed, it's always just a maybe. But while Skinner explains why unpredictable outcomes keep us coming back, it doesn't fully explain why stopping feels so difficult in the first place. I mean, how many times have you heard the phrase, "we can't end a loss"? I mean, most of the time, it's just a joke. But psychologically, it's actually quite revealing that people are motivated to continue when the outcome they want is just barely out of their reach. So while variable ratio reinforcement can keep you coming back to a game, it doesn't tell us the full story on why quitting after a loss can feel so wrong. And that's where Abram Amsel's frustration theory comes in. When an expected reward doesn't happen, a match you thought you'd win, a boss you almost beat, the resulting frustration doesn't push you away, it can actually encourage you to keep going. Because when rewards are blocked, when the outcome feels close, almost within reach, part of what keeps us playing isn't the reward itself, but the energy created by missing it. Losses aren't just disappointing, they create a tension that we want to resolve. And if you've played competitive games, well, you've experienced this. In a game like League, you can get stomped 4 games straight and then suddenly have one great match, and that one win can make the whole session feel worthwhile. In Souls games, even after dozens of deaths to the same boss, one clean victory where you dodge everything justifies all the time wasted doing that run back. This schedule, random success after unpredictable failure, is stronger than fixed rewards, stronger than predictable progression, strong enough to keep you pressing play again. But there's another layer to this idea, something called learned industriousness, something proposed by the psychologist Robert Eisenberger. He argued that when people are rewarded for high effort, they start to associate the effort itself with the reward. Not just the outcomes, but the struggle itself becomes less averse. The idea is that people begin to associate their own effort with the positive feelings of a reward, so the act of trying itself becomes meaningful. Like in a Souls game, every attempt trains your brain that persistence pays off. Deaths aren't meaningless, you begin to learn the movesets, they're preparing you for eventual success. In roguelikes, repeated failure teaches you different strategies and how to adapt. And in competitive games, past progress conditions you to push through frustration because quitting now feels like losing the ranked progress you've already made. Like how no one in gold demotes down to silver in one day and decides, you know what, I'll call it a day. No, you keep playing and you get back that rank that you deserve. Learned industriousness is what makes difficult games feel strangely addicting. After enough hours of grinding, effort itself stops feeling like a cost, it starts feeling like progress on its own. Even when you lose, your brain interprets it as work accomplished instead of time wasted. So that's exactly why, when your brain learns that effort usually pays off, it becomes harder to walk away even when it hasn't paid off yet. That's the moment where psychology stops just reinforcing behavior and starts shaping your expectations as well, which is exactly what leads into the fallacies we tend to fall for. Because effort and reward aren't the whole story. Sometimes it's not just about what we've learned through experience, it's also about how we think. The way that we interpret wins, losses, and invested effort can encourage us to continue playing, even when it might not make any rational sense. And this is where cognitive biases come in. Take the gambler's fallacy, for example, which is the belief that past events influence future outcomes, even when they're independent. So in gaming, this is when you've lost 4 matches in a row, so you think you're due for a win anytime now. But even though each match is independent, your brain interprets streaks as predictive, and that expectation nudges you to keep playing. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy, which is the tendency to continue because of what you've already invested and not the current stakes. So in games, this would be when you've spent an hour grinding through losses, and you've already demoted, so quitting feels wasteful, even if the next match might be just as bad. Your past investment encourages you to keep trying and regain that rank. And these are just some of the more subtle things that may be influencing how you play as well. But combined with variable ratio reinforcement, frustration motivation, and the learned industriousness, these biases can create the perfect conditions for persistence. Your brain has multiple overlapping reasons to convince you to keep playing. So the next time that you're on a brutal loss streak, whether it's a boss you've been stuck on for hours or just trying to climb the ranks ladder, know that it's not just stubbornness keeping you playing. It's the combination of these psychological mechanisms, the unpredictable rewards, frustration-driven energy, effort that feels meaningful, and the cognitive biases that make stopping feel wrong. Loss streaks feel personal, like something the game is doing to us. But the truth is almost the opposite. They show us what our minds do on their own. The frustration, the renewed energy, the refusal to walk away, these reactions aren't programmed into the game, they're programmed into us. And that's why this topic matters, because once you notice those patterns in a loss streak, you start recognizing them in other places. In projects you can't give up, in goals you struggle toward, in the problems you keep trying to solve even when they keep pushing back. A loss streak isn't just a gaming experience, it's a mirror. And once you see a reflection in it, it's an image that's hard to forget. And with that, thank you for watching, and take care.